Uh, Hello, world. Today, we are here to talk about the present situation and present context. And I'm SM Shujoddin. I'm the host here. And this is a program about the journalist chat. And we have two international distinguished guests. And I'd like to introduce first, I think it's better and both of them can introduce themselves. Please, Lauren, please.
Sure, thank you very much. My name is Lauren Fischer. I am a specialist in global and cross-cultural mental health. I've worked in USA, in Guatemala, in Central America, and most recently in Bangladesh. I was there for the last 6 months. I'm currently back in the United States working long distance for the moment. I'd work on program development, and most recently I've been working with the Rohingya refugee situation in Bangladesh and Cox's Bazar.
Wow, thank you. Ali Johar, please, if you introduce yourself, I think that will be better.
My name is Ali Johar. I'm in Delhi right now. I've been living in Delhi since 2012. I volunteer for UNHCR here, and I also work with an organization called Rohingya Human Rights Initiative as an education coordinator, and I look after the educational opportunities for Rohingya refugee children in all over India. And we also document the atrocities of our people across the globe.
Yeah, thank you. So, if both of you allow to me, so I can just to give a short introduction in Bangla. দর্শক আজকে আমরা আপনারা দেখেছেন যে এর আগের দিনই আমরা কথা বলেছি দ্য জার্নালিস্ট চ্যাটে আমাদের দুইজন গণমাধ্যম কর্মী ছিলেন। আজকে আমরা দুইজনের সাথে কথা বলবো। একজন আছেন সুদূর আমেরিকাতে এবং আরেকজন আছেন দিল্লিতে। আমরা আসলে এই মুহূর্তে পুরো বিশ্বের যে পরিস্থিতিটা চলছে আপনারা জানেন যে কোভিড-19 প্যান্ডেমিক একটা এমন একটা সিচুয়েশন, সেটা শুধুমাত্র বাংলাদেশে নয়, পুরো বিশ্বে এরকম একটা পরিস্থিতি। এই পরিস্থিতিতে আসলে কোন দেশ কি রকম ভাবছে এবং তাদের প্রস্তুতিটা কি, এবং এই সময়ে আসলে মানুষের যে মেন্টাল হেলথ কিংবা তারা যদি মানসিক কোনো বিপর্যস্ত অবস্থার মধ্য দিয়ে থাকে, তাহলে তারা কিভাবে এই মানসিক বিপর্যয়টা কেটে উঠতে পারবে এবং এই সিচুয়েশন গুলোতে তাদের কোন ধরনের সাইকোসোশ্যাল সাপোর্ট গুলো দরকার, এই বিষয়ে কথা বলার জন্য আমরা লরেন ফিশার, যিনি সাধারণত মেন্টাল হেলথ এক্সপার্ট, তিনি ইউএসএ আছেন এখন, আর দিল্লির পরিস্থিতি নিয়ে আমাদের সাথে কথা বলবেন আলী জোহর। তিনি একজন রোহিঙ্গা, তিনি দিল্লিতেই আছেন এবং তিনি দিল্লি ইউনিভার্সিটি থেকে পলিটিক্যাল সায়েন্সে তিনি পড়াশোনা করেছেন। সো এই মুহূর্তে আমরা তাদের সাথে কথা বলবো এবং এখন পর্যন্ত 34 জন আপনারা আমার সাথে আছেন এবং আশা করি আপনারা শেষ পর্যন্ত থাকবেন। Thank you both of you for tolerating me. So I think if I want to ask Lauren, after the Italy, and we know that before the first COVID-19 pandemic hit in Italy, and after the Italy right now, very dangerous zone is USA. So the first, as a friend, first as a guest, I think our audience also, this is the audience demand to know about the condition of you and what kind of situations right now in your state.
Yeah, thank you for asking. It is overall, it's a very bad situation in USA, and there are several reasons for that. The state that I'm in currently is Missouri, and we are actually doing much better than most other regions in the country. We're in the Midwest region, in the central area of the country and further away from the really large, more densely populated cities. So we've got about 4,000 cases in our state right now. I have about 1,500 cases in my county, but nothing like New York. Overall, countrywide, we're seeing about 2,000 deaths a day at this point, which comparing that just to the number of people that we lost for us, sort of our what's heavy on our national memory is the September 11th attacks, where we lost over 1,000 people there. But it's like that's happening every single day. And again, there are multiple reasons for that. Overall, we are also looking at a situation where businesses are pushing to reopen everything so that the economy can get restarted. And doctors are pushing to keep things locked down so they can try to save more people's lives. And we're seeing a big conflict politically around that. Overall, the people that I know are all well. Most people have been adapting fairly well, but it is something very, very different than people in my country are used to dealing with. And that has made a response very difficult.
Yeah, so I mean, everyone know that like the USA, the country like USA, who can solve the problems or who can do the immediate response. But I mean, how? I mean, why? I mean, why it happens? Because the most of the people talking about your president and took time to make the decisions, and that's why it's happened. Or like why it's happening, because the lots of equipment there and the world best doctor are there, world best hospital are there. So I mean,
Mhm.
what about your opinion about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are multiple factors that play into that affect that. One of those is just, you're right, how quickly we responded or didn't respond. A lot of the way that the situation unfolds has to do with the preparations that were made, because it is a public health crisis. So that depends entirely on how quickly you can limit people's interaction. In USA, even though we have a lot of resources, the problem was that in production, in order to maximize profits, we did not have as many resources stored. And because independent states in my country like to have a lot of autonomy, make decisions for themselves, our centralized response has been very weak and has taken a long time to activate. And so states are keeping resources for themselves sometimes rather than sharing with the places that are hardest hit and have the greatest need. And that tension in between self-interest and collective mutual support is causing a lot of people to die. It's really
Oh,
tragic to watch.
it's so sad. It's so sad. So Ali Johar, I think, are you okay?
Suja,
So
actually, sorry. Actually, I can't hear anything. I'll just leave and join again.
okay,
Sorry for
no
that.
problem. You can come back. So even we can discuss. So one of the person, Sheikh Mahmoud, and he wrote, "Good initiative. Glad to see all of you." And Ali, hope you are well. Lauren, hope we'll meet again in the Cox with the Suzabai. So it is
Thank you,
the wonderful things, and so right now the world is in serious situations and everything's really, even especially when we are talking about the economic conditions, and the stock markets is gonna fall. So and so how do you think so? And we also heard that, and through the newspaper, different kind of international media, people are gonna lose their job. And what about the conditions? And I mean, what the situation? If you describe, I think that would be better.
Yeah, it's difficult to describe because it's changing so quickly. It's changing every day. At this point, we have multiple millions of people who are unemployed, which is, it's unprecedented. This is not the kind of situation that USA is used to dealing with. There are many other places in the world where people have had to think daily about what it means to survive. That's not something that many people, especially from like the upper middle class, who, that's like in the United States, this is not the kind of situation that people are used to having to deal with. And so again, I think that has shaped people's responses to be much more self-interested, worried about things like their jobs, the economy, the stock market, Wall Street, where for other people, it's more of a daily life and death struggle. And the interests of those two groups are perceived to be different. It's perceived that you have to make a decision of whether to keep things locked down and try to save more people's lives, or reopen the economy so that people are benefited. by having jobs again, by being able to work and have income, which is also a real concern, and causes people to have real struggles. But the way that story is told makes it sound like only one of those groups can be benefited at a time, and that I think is where the problem lies.
Yeah, it's an huge things and terrible. Says, I mean, the most of the people are tense and think about it. Even it's in every country they're affected. So Ali Johar is back. Are you okay? Ali Johar, hello.
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay. So Ali Johar is back. Yeah, sometimes it happens. The virtual world is sometimes it's good, sometimes it's very bad. So Ali Johar, you are living in the New Delhi, so, which is and also living close to the refugee camp. So we know that the most of the humanitarian workers and the left the fields, and only the emergency response, those who are doing the emergency response, they are working inside the ground. And what are the conditions right now in New Delhi in the overall circumstances? And I hope you are in a lockdown. I mean, you are in home quarantine. Ali, are you hearing us? Are you hearing us? Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Actually, my
Yeah.
broadband is little
Yeah.
I don't know
You can
what's
speak.
happening.
You can speak our audio.
It's like the
Yeah.
voice.
Your audio is okay for us. Your audio is okay for us. You can
Yeah,
speak. No
I
problem.
can hear sometime and it cut out sometime. It's happening like that.
Yeah.
But I
It's
will
better. You can speak. You can
respond from.
describe. It's better.
Yeah.
Please. So are you hearing me right now? Right. Okay. So can you
So
describe
in
yeah?
the
Can you describe the present situation of New Delhi right now?
yeah
Please.
in India, like currently the situation is totally locked down since 22nd of last month. So it was till 14th of April, but yesterday the Prime Minister and all the Chief Minister has discussed over video conference that they will be extending the lockdown because India has been doing very well, in the fight against coronavirus, because India is a huge country having the second largest population in the world. It just has 8,504 cases till now. So the death is like 2,289 only. So in Delhi, the case 1,025 and that roll is 19 only. So that means India is doing very well to in the fight against this global emergency. So because it has been successful because the countrywide lockdown of everything. Uh, as it was till 14th of April, then the yesterday meeting was on this issue that whether it should be extended or not. Then almost all the state agreed that this should be extended because India has been doing very well because of the lockdown only. If we are lifting up the lockdown, then everything will become again, suddenly we'll face a very big emergency like other countries in Europe who did not followed very well all these measures. So I think like till now the lockdown has not been, there is no official statement that lockdown has been extended because it's already till 14th. Then maybe today or by tomorrow we'll get to hear that it has been extended till 30th of this month. So that is the current scenario here. But as there are a lot of like more than 80% people work in unorganized sectors, people are going through very devastating problems like with food, sanitation, and everything. There are a lot of migrants worker in every states from another states, so they are just stuck in all those states, and there was cases that they are going to their home by by walk, which are like
Yeah.
700 kilometers,
Yeah,
400
I
kilometers,
read one of the
and
report.
there are
Yeah.
people who even don't know how long they like it will take. There are children, women. It is basically because they stay in rental apartment in those states where they migrated for work, and although the government has ordered that any migrant worker or anyone who is staying out of their state for work purpose or anything should not be asked for rental, room rent. Their 1 month or 2 month room rent should be should not be asked. So anyone who is staying in any state, like anyone who came to Delhi, she should stay in Delhi only. So if that person is staying in that area where he has migrated, she has migrated for work purpose or anything, the government, state government should be responsible for any emergency response for the same person. So, and if there are people who are already on the way to their home by walk, the same where the authority where the person has been found should immediately quarantine the person in the same place or in the same state. That is how India has been doing very well.
Yeah, like the
But
same situation of the other country. Yeah.
yeah, from today, there are some spots which government has recognized that with much of the cases or increasing cases, where the total seal has been happened. The area where I'm staying, it has been even sealed by this morning. So there are very few shops which are open, like medical store and some recognized grocery shops, which are also for a period of time, like from morning 9 to evening 6 p.m. But there are a
Yeah,
lot of
Alijur, I
precautions
have
and
a question
always.
here. Yeah, I have a question here. So basically, so because of the lockdown, I mean, the situation everywhere, the same situations. If you talk about this, especially about the refugee who were living in Delhi. So basically, how they are surviving, because already we know that refugee all, I mean, living in a very miserable and vulnerable situations. So how they are surviving, and the second question is how humanitarian actors are operating there right now because everything
So,
is locked down.
so there are almost 18,000 Rohingya refugees across India. In Delhi, there are more than 1,000. In Hyderabad, there are almost 1,600 families. In Jammu, there are 1,500 families. In Haryana, there are 450 families. So in Delhi, it's total 78 families. Uh, like Bangladesh, in India, refugees are not given rations by the international organizations or any other organization. So how refugees are supported is just they are given a refugee card, which is also somehow not recognized or recognized by the government because India is not a signatory to the 1951 and 52 convention. So that makes a very ignoring gray area for the refugees, because refugees are also treated uh, as a foreigner category. So the local people were being supported by the state government, but last week we have requested to all the state government and organization which are operating in those area where our people have got refuge. So the Delhi government has supported our people with rations and medical support as well. In all this 378 families were supported with ration from Delhi police. So for the same, we are asking to Haryana government, Jammu Kashmir government, and Hyderabad government also. We are coordinating with them, and we are very much pretty much sure that they will also positively respond in this global emergency, because this doesn't come looking at religion, race, or anything. Like, you are a refugee, you will not be catch. You are an Indian, you will be catch. This virus doesn't see anyone or anything.
No,
It's
and
nothing.
I mean this
So
virus.
that's why it doesn't discriminate anyone, and there should not be, like, we are maximizing our help. So our organization also, like, has been running a fundraising program for our people, and as well as local community which are staying with our own community, our people. So the interesting thing is, with Rohingya people, with Rohingya refugees, where there are local people also who have found refuge from other state, coming to another state in the settlement. So they are also supported by our organization, which has been, very much appreciated by the Indian government. So as most of our people, like 90% of our people, stays in a makeshift camp. So it has been a very hard time for our people, as well as there are a lot of local people who are going through hardship. So this is a very very hard time for everyone, and we are fighting it together. And I think whether we sing together, whether we carry up.
I mean that's amazing. Like it's an wonderful, and they appreciated it. Yeah. If I so Lauren, so basically you are what I know, you are a technical advisor and you are a mental health expert. So right now we know that in this crisis moment, people are facing a lot of problems internally, and they don't know how to manage their stress and how to healing out. And in the meantime, we know that even one of the country, I forgot the names, and one of the minister who committed suicide. And so this kind of things happening around the world, because this is a new context and this is a new situation. Even people are not prepared to face it, and people are not aware about that. So, and in the meantime, when people are inside the home, like, human beings want to be free all the time. This is the nature of human beings.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So how people inside of a home, a square feet home, how people can manage their stress, and how people actually can survive in a small space, but in beautiful way. What about your suggestions? Because this things is going on, and it is going to be an alarming.
Yeah, that's a great question, and wow, I wish I could answer it. I think there are there's several things that are helpful and several things that are not helpful. And if you look up, you can look up online what are good strategies for coping with stress. A lot of those are sort of targeted for people whose lifestyles are like my lifestyle growing up. We like to do things like yoga, deep breathing exercises, things like this, which can be helpful for some people, but for many, like, that's not what they're used to, and that's not what they're going to feel like is helpful or comfortable for them in their context. But there are some things that we all have in common that are good for everyone. And one of those is relationship. It is not good for people to be alone. It never has been. One of the most helpful things that I've heard from a psychiatrist, his name is Kurt Thompson. He's done a lot of writing as well. I heard him commenting on this the other day and talking about the fact that at this point, we're asking people to do a lot of things that humans were never made to do. We're not made to sit and never move and be isolated in a room. We're not made to be apart from our families and the people that we're closest to and the people that we love. That's not normal. Like, that shouldn't feel normal, and that shouldn't feel good. And all of us are experiencing that. We've lost whatever our daily schedule, our daily pattern of life has looked like. Anything that gives our days structure tends to be helpful, and all of us are feeling that loss in different ways, which can make people feel anxious. It can make them feel angry or depressed or sad. Some general things that are helpful to remember is that as humans, we are embodied. We have our minds are not separate from our bodies, and so just taking care of health in general. It is good for our bodies to move as much as possible. It is good to eat well as you can, to get enough water, to get enough sleep, to try to keep to a schedule. There are things you can do to help that happen. If you're staying on the same schedule as a family, if you are limiting screen time, trying to turn them off about an hour before you go to sleep, that will help. Emotionally, there are some other things. I think this also looks different depending on what your life circumstances are. First is recognizing that things are not good. There is no guarantee that things will be well in this life, or that they will end well right now. That would be a false promise. And the more important thing for real health,
how do you think so? How this problem is going to be solved? People can come out from the home.
Sleep, and then it will all be fine. But at that point, you're dealing with some different issues, because people are now adapting to living in a way that isn't really good for us. But I think the best thing is being really deeply rooted and grounded in what is reality right now and what is true. If you are healthy and well, like I am right now, being thankful for that, thinking, what is the best thing I can do today that I am healthy and well? If I'm sick, then I have to have a different response. I need to take care of myself to recover. I need to protect my family. But remembering that every day has enough trouble of its own. Where people start to get overwhelmed with anxiety is thinking about all of the things that could possibly go wrong. It's impossible to respond to all of those because they haven't even happened yet. And so trying to stay as present in what is true today, what can I respond to today, and who are the people around me, how can I connect with them. It breaks my heart thinking about our friends or brothers and sisters in the Rohingya community in Bangladesh who really suffer with network blackouts.
Yes.
And having very limited telecommunications, even the ways that are available to them to communicate, to stay in touch with their families who maybe they can't see in person as easily. When even that has been taken away, that puts an extra burden on like the few things that are really helpful. And so always thinking of and praying for them in that context.
Yeah, I think just I'm coming through this question. So this is also our headline today. So how humanitarian actors can contribute from distance, because we know that, and you work in Bangladesh and right now you left, and because of the COVID-19 pandemics, and this is a reality, and most of the humanitarian worker they had to leave Bangladesh because of these situations. So this is we know the contacts in Bangladesh, in the refugee contacts, and this is it's in horrible situations, because if anything happened to them, any of them, so there is no chance, a way to protect, because everything, the house is so tansy, and the people are living in a tansy house, and with the, I mean, a small space. So, I mean, how do you think so? The humanitarian actors from the distance, like you, I know you are communicating with your a lot of friends, a lot of humanitarian actors. You're communicating. You are working from your home. So, what other humanitarian workers are doing, and I mean, how they can contribute from their own place so that they will not forget the situations.
I know it looks very different for different colleagues who are working on the response in different roles. I know some people are staying in touch with their teams via Zoom calls, online, depending on what their role was and how critical their role is considered. They may or may not be working at all right now. I know some people who are still in different parts of Bangladesh. They're still in country, but still having to work remotely. Others who are back in their home countries and working remotely to support in different ways. It's difficult. I know in my personal experience, doing any kind of cross-cultural work, especially, tends to be very, very difficult to do if you are not physically present in person. Sometimes it is not impossible, I think, to still contribute meaningfully, but the array of options that you have, how you can do that, is severely restricted. The kinds of people that you're able to connect with are going to be much more limited. I cannot continue to develop relationship in the same way with people who are not fluent in English as I could if I were physically present on the ground. And that's a loss that I think is felt no matter what your role is. For me, one of the most important things just in my role in the response at all has just been maintaining relationship with people who are in Bangladesh, who are connected to the response, who are part of the Rohingya community, who are not program beneficiaries. They're my friends and my colleagues, and being able to learn from them and experience the situation in a very different role, but with them, has been one of the greatest honors of my entire life. And I think that is something that we, it's probably not what you would hear most humanitarian workers say, but I think that's actually one of the most important things that I can possibly do, because that reminds me, it reminds me of the daily experience of these people, not as beneficiaries, not as numbers on an Excel spreadsheet, but as my friends who are survivors. They have endured, their whole community has survived things that I have never had to endure, and being able to learn from the Rohingya community as the entire world is facing a survival situation. There's a lot of value there that I don't
if you allow me, I
to
can
lose.
I can read the comments. So
Yeah.
Ashrafuzzaman Kajol, and who comment like, Lauren, কেমন আছো? You should respond. Okay, so another person, his name is Rabiul Alam, who wrote like, can you please explain the steps taken by Germany to treat people of its country rather helping others? Did US take just steps to do only for its citizen first? Can you please respond to these questions if you have?
Sure. I have not been following the situation in Germany in enough detail to be able to respond well. I can tell you in general, one of the issues with USA and the reason why we are really suffering right now is because we have, we prioritize our own. We tend to, we have a very individualistic culture, which means that I think about myself. How can I help myself? How can I make the best life I can? We think that way as a country. We need to protect USA first. We think that way as states. We want to hold power for ourselves, and that has crippled our ability to respond effectively in this time where everyone's survival is actually dependent on each other. It depends on our ability to share the resources, to to share strengths and weaknesses in ways that come together and actually allow us all to
It
survive.
seems like make the America great and greater. It's like that.
That's right. And we're feeling the consequences. That is what we've chosen. That's the ideology we've chosen to follow as a country. And we are seeing the fruit of that. We're seeing what happens when everyone takes themselves first. And you can decide whether or not that was a wise choice.
Yeah, it's.
I think this time, I think this time that's a that's a wise choice for every country, because when we save ourselves, then the world saved, then the humanity gets saved. On the question, like how we can possibly make our time better in this situation, like when we are all home quarantined or when we are all locked down. Like in this case, maybe like just like Lawrence said, we can improve on our relationship with our people surrounded, people surround we are surrounded by, maybe our family members, maybe our children. It's an opportunity for most of us. I mean, I think for all of us to look back on the situation or reflect on us, maybe to give ourselves more, a better version to our family members as well as our friend. uh, you know uh, like nowadays, everybody, almost people, all the people are using smartphone. There are a lot of good YouTube videos which teaches you how to prepare different meals. So people can practice those things, and you can
That's
improve
good.
your skills as well,
Yeah. So
because we
how are
have
you
got a
passing
lot
your
of
time?
time.
How you passing
Yeah.
how you passing your time? How will you use your time?
I myself, like I'm some people think, and even my family think, I'm a very good cook. So I try to spend myself cooking for our parents and rest of the family members.
Wow.
I help my mother
Great.
at kitchen,
Super.
and
That's great.
as well as like I talk to our friends. I'm trying to make new friends as well. Just Lauren said, we can improve on our relationship.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of friends I haven't spoken to for even years or years. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to knock all of them and sending a message, like to all the WhatsApp, all the people on my WhatsApp, that
Yeah.
how are you? I hope you and your family is safe in this situation. I have concerns for you. So that message to everyone personally, like I've got enough time to send that message to everyone.
Yeah, that's great.
So
I think Lauren
just
can
use
spend
that.
you time to learn the Bangla. Like তুমি
Trying.
বাংলা শেখার জন্য চেষ্টা করতে পারো।
অনেক বেশি কঠিন।
অনেক বেশি
So
কঠিন।
yeah,
তো কোনটা সহজ? কোনটা সহজ? মানে কতটুকু পারো?
নাই, এই পাই।
বাংলাদেশে তো তুমি তো বাংলাদেশে ছিলে। বাংলাদেশ কেমন লাগলো তোমার?
খুব ভালো।
খুব ভালো।
I have a question for Ali Johor,
yeah,
Please.
if I may. I also wanted to say I love that you're thinking to like reach out to people, to friends that you haven't connected with in some time. And that is just making me think about it's kind of the best way to support other people right now. And it's very easy to try to comfort people and say like, oh, it's going to be okay, when really we don't know that. We have no
yeah,
guarantee of that. One of my mentors and a sort of friend and colleague, his name is Andy Crouch. He's a writer in the States, and he says that often. Like we can't really say that. It sounds like we're comforting a child. Like, I don't know if things are going to be okay. But more than that, being able to remind each other that no matter what happens, you don't have to be there alone. You don't have to face it alone. And if you can step into that place of offering that, extending that to someone, being that like physical as much as you can, in-person reminder that that is true. I think that's really helpful. But my question for you, I've been thinking about this because, as I mentioned before, the Rohingya community, I think, has been forced to live in conditions that are much closer to this sort of lockdown, quarantine, severely restricted movement for a long time. Like you've survived this, like your community has survived this for a long time. This is very new and very uncomfortable for lots of us. But most of us in USA at least are facing this as a matter of losing things that are comfortable instead of losing things that we need, which has been more often the case in your community. So I'm wondering, like, what we can learn from you. I'm wondering what you have seen people in the Rohingya community do over the last like several years, several decades, as they've been in these really restricted, difficult living situations. What have you seen families or your community do to support each other just to get through times like that have been very difficult?
So we have been under lockdown. It's basically not because we are at risk, because they want.
Right.
So this situation is very different. But throughout my experience, I can only explain that even though we were under lockdown, the Rohingya community has a special bond with their relatives, which I have seen, very much fewer in other communities. Like if I give an example of friends in USA, I have lots of friends in USA as well. So they are like, when they are into their universities, they just get separated from their parents. And even there are friends, they don't know their uncle, who is their uncle.
Yeah.
Like their mother's brother or their father's brother, paternal uncle, something like that. But in our community, it is like we know like our paternal uncles, relatives from somewhere. Those are also our relatives. We think that way. So if my paternal uncle got married with somebody, her sister and her relatives becomes my uncle.
Even it's
Something
very
like
common in
that's
South Asia. I
in
think it's very
Asia.
common. It's very common in South
It's
Asia. The bondings,
yeah.
I mean, the bondings between the relatives, the bondings between the people, because people believing here more emotional attachment,
Yeah.
and because the context people are living, and also the South Asian culture is. People love to mix with each other. People love to talk with each other. Conversation.
Yeah,
Conversation is not
we
locked
value
down.
the
Conversation is not
yeah
locked down. It's all the time.
we
It's all the
value the
time.
emotional bonding that we have. So
Yeah.
I think now how the global condition is suffering through. So if we focus on our emotional bonding with our, the people who are surrounded with us, so we'll have a wonderful time. There are a lot of positive sides as well for this lockdown. For in this global emergency, we can look. So as one thing, we have got enough time to spend for our family members, and the persons who have not got any family members, they can still contact with their friends and colleagues. So people who are enough capable of managing their selves, rich people, they have got an opportunity to support their neighbors who are going through hard time. So if we are passing a message, if you are okay or not, if you need any help, you can just let me know. So I have as a humanitarian worker, like I've been leading the team. So I've been getting a lot of calls, video messages, voice messages, that we are here 30 families and we don't have food, we are under lockdown, our factories are closed where we used to work. We used to work as a rickshaw puller, auto driver, but because of the lockdown we cannot go out of our home, and we are afraid that we have to go hunger. So so a message, if you get a message such, that mean you are in a position that people see you as hope.
Yeah,
So
I think
if then when you respond them in a positive way, if you can help them with a ration for 1 month, something like that, just help one person. So you are contributing hope to one family, one person.
yeah,
So
that's
at the
great.
same time, if we see is at the nature,
Yeah,
if we see look at the nature, we have been there are child activists who have been advocating for the global warming
yeah,
and reduce of plastic uses and these things. So because of the lockdown, before lockdown, Delhi used to be one of the most polluted city in the world.
yeah,
We have been in that rank. Now
yeah,
we are in a ratio that we are in a normal phase of environment.
yeah,
So
Amazing.
there is no dust in the air right now. And being a humanitarian worker, I have got passed to go out to help people. So while driving throughout the road, I can hear the sounds of birds and things, which something becoming very new, you know, right now because of the lockdown. So nature is healing again. I think after a lockdown, we'll see a world which has, changed in a very positive way. So this thing we can still look into. Like
yeah,
there is a message I got. Not everything is locked down. Like the sun rays is not locked down. The moon is
yeah.
not locked down. Hope is not
Lockdown.
locked down.
Mhm.
Prayer is not locked down.
Conversation is not locked down.
Conversation is not locked down. Yeah,
Yeah.
petition
So,
is not locked down.
Johar, I need to jump to the Lawrence. So basically, before the conversation, I was talking to the lot of humanitarian workers in the ground, and also discuss about the lot of issues. So what kind of question can I ask to you? And so basically, most of the people, they are because here is a more than 20 or around 30,000 people are working unofficially there here. I mean, this is an official number. So I mean, most of the people who talk about because the US's stock market are just gonna fall. So how do you think so? Because the most of the fund of UN or also other country come from the USA. So what will be the situations if this will continue in the USA?
Mhm. That's incredibly difficult to predict because, man, there's so many different factors, and I don't pretend to know anything like enough about the inner workings of the stock market to know what the implications of that are. As far as I am aware, I think that bodies, I don't even want to say this. I think that bodies like the UN are more stably and sustainably funded than anything that the stock market would immediately impact. I mean, there's so many pieces that are interrelated that all interestingly have to do with people's minds and perceptions of the situation. Because when there's more uncertainty, people tend to panic. They withdraw money, they withdraw participation, and so there's less exchange going on, and that's when sort of things start to break down. And because of the nature of our like globalized economy, there's so many different pieces that are interdependent and interrelated. It's very difficult to know how a change in one area is going to affect a change over here. I think regardless, like the whole world is hurting and the whole world is going to hurt more. Um, the US is, of course, a very big player in the global economy. How that will directly impact the response on the ground for like Rohingya response in Cox's Bazar, I have no idea. My immediate impression is that there have not been funding issues that I have seen arise yet. In like, there have been all kinds of problems, but that has interestingly not been one of them. Most of the funding for this year or this grant cycle had already been allocated, and they seem to be repurposing the activities. Obviously, they're very different priorities now. agencies are looking at what to do on COVID response rather than whatever programs they had planned. And the donors know that. So those tend to be different governments. Again, I think the economy is going to be pretty significantly hurt everywhere. One thing that has been helpful, and I've noticed this as an American working on Rohingya response in Cox's Bazar, is that U.S. agencies like USAID and other funders are significantly present there, but they're not the only ones. There's a lot of aid from the British government. There are a lot of aid from
European Union.
Other international NGOs. And so that I think is encouraging, just in that there is more of a diversity of funding bodies that is sustaining that response. And again, I think that most of that for this year had already been allocated. So they're not suffering immediately. When we come up to the next funding cycle, depending on what the economy looks like at that point, I think we might see some more issues. But at this point, things have actually been relatively stable, as far as I'm aware.
Wow, thank you. This is a wonderful information. So basically, the most of the people are tense, and people are thinking about what's happening inside in the ground, because the people know that the funding coming from the USA and also definitely from the other country. And we are going to finish our conversation today. So before finish the conversation, and Lauren, if you say something to the Bangladeshi audience in Bangla and also to the international audience, please.
Oh no, I'm out of practice in my Bangla.
No problems.
Onek ধন্যবাদ. সবাই.
Or anything else, especially the COVID-19 awareness, like how they can keep inside their home and how they can be healthy. Speaking in Bangla. I know it's difficult for you, but it's not more hard than stay home inside.
No. So many things. Kichu jani. Orpo jani. Man. Overall, I guess that the kind of the one thing that I would want people to leave with and to remember for their own well-being and for the well-being of the people around them is to stay focused on what is true and what is here today. That is the only thing you can engage with. It's the only thing you can interact with. Knowing what you can do to control or respond to your situation, and knowing what you can't, knowing what is before you, what relationships you do have, taking time to reach out to the people around you, to be the embodiment to them of the fact that they are not alone. Remembering, as you said, what is not locked down, things that are important, that do last, faith, hope, love.
Yeah. And thank you, Ali Johar. If you say something to the international audience, and also if you say something to your community in your language and international audience, and how international, how the country can work together, and how can people live together. How people can think to understand in better way, as like I see you, because you are passing wonderful time in home quarantine. Please.
I can only say that please be safe, and remember there are people who are in need of your help. Home quarantine is a privilege for most of us. Like, I have seen families having a soap can be a privilege, a luxury. So there are families like that. There are refugee families like that. There are local people like that in Asia. Please remember those. Stay home. This is a fight we all have to fight together.
Yes.
So, whether we swim together, whether we sing together.
Wow.
So if I'd like to say in my language to our people, like আর মানুষের ইয়ান হতে মনে হতে আর হতা হইতে পারে সিটাঙ্গর মানুষ বুঝি পারিব কেলা আর রোহিঙ্গা হতা লইরে মিল আছে তালা বলি আর আদা আছে ইয়ানোর মাঝে আর তো বেগুনতো এক কুহাতি একজুট হয়ে দা আছে ফাইট করা ফুরিব ইয়ান একখান আছে পুরা দুনিয়ার একখান ডন মশলা বনিব থেকে পুরা ইনসানিয়তল্লা তো ইয়ানোর মাঝে আছে বহুত কিছু পজিটিভও আছে আর আদা আছে টাইম পাই আর ঘরের মানুষের হওয়াতি টাইম স্পেন্ড করি ফেললা বলি আর জিন ফ্যামিলি মেম্বার আছে তারা বালা করে বুঝি পারি ফেললা বলি তো বাইরে যা তো দাস আর তো বাসি টাকা ফুরিব বাইরে যাইলে উদু আর নিজরে নিজে সেফ রাখিতে ন আর ঘরের মানুষ হইবে আর সেফ রাখি কেঙ্গুরি হইলে আয় যদি বাইরে গিয়ে বলি হইলে তেভারে আয় হস্যা দেতালা বলি আয় জোয়ান দেতালা বলি আরে বাইরে আসি ভাই এদুর এফেক্ট করে না পারিব দেখি আয় মরি যাই দিন দিলা লেকিন আয় যদি বাইরে আছে আর ঘরে টানি বলি আর ঘর মা মুরব্বী অকল আছে গুড়া ফোয়াইন আছে ইতারারে এফেক্ট করি ইতারা মত জরিয়া বনি ফারো তুই আয় এটা লাবিলি আর তো আছে গভর্নমেন্ট জেন্ডিলা হর ইয়ানোর আছে ফলো করার নাম বেশি জরুরি কেলা হইলে গভর্নমেন্টে যদি আর বাসা করলাবে ইয়াং করে দে তো আর মানুষ বেগুনরিও আছে ইল্লা মসিয়তর হালা দিবার মাঝে আর তার হতো আছে বেশা বেশি দোয়া আল্লাহ দোয়া করিবা আর আছে বেগুন সেফ তাই ফেলা বলি আছে আই দোয়া করি
And thank you, Ali Johar, and thank you, Lauren. So I'd like to say to the audience, so basically here we are from the three different countries. Here we are from three nations. We are from three different distance area we're living, but all we are facing only one problem. This is a COVID-19. So I hope like we all need to work together. We have to fight together, and we all have to be think together so that, I mean, as Johar said, sing together, swimming together. So I need to say bye to my audience. So দর্শক আপনারা যারা এতক্ষণ ধরে আমাকে দেখছিলেন বা আমাদেরকে দেখছিলেন, আপনাদেরকে আবারও বলি সবাই বাসায় থাকবেন এবং ঘরে থাকবেন, এবং আমরা অন্য কোনো দিন অন্য কোনো দেশের যে কোনো একজন ডেলিগেট নিয়ে কিংবা অন্য কোনো ব্যক্তিকে নিয়ে আপনাদের সামনে হাজির হব। আশা করি আপনারা সবাই ভালো থাকবেন, সুস্থ থাকবেন। And I'd like to thank Lauren, Fischer, and Ali Johar for a wonderful time with us and for a wonderful time
Thank
with
you
my
very
audience.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye. I think